How many people have never been in this assertiveness class? Just you? So everybody knows the first and main rule. What is it without looking and cheating?
Honest, direct, respectful.
That's right.
Woohoo, yeah.
Be honest, direct, and respectful. And that is also the definition of being assertive. How is that different from being aggressive? What's remember our definitions from week one?
Aggressive would be more in an upset manner or angry manner or some type of.
Not necessarily. Remember, for a couple weeks I pointed out the fact that you can be mad and still be assertive. You can be mad and still be respectful of another person. So aggressive, if we look back at our definition, which I think since we haven't gone over it in a while, and I usually like to go over the definitions a couple times throughout the 10-week class. Page 3. Aggressive behavior is more complex. It can be active or passive. It can be direct or indirect, honest or dishonest. So you can be aggressive and still be honest and direct. But the difference is it always communicates an impression of superiority and disrespect. By being aggressive, we put our wants, needs, and rights above those of others. We attempt to get our way by not allowing others a choice. Now, what is the definition of passive without looking at, or non-assertive? It's just the opposite of aggressive, putting other people's wants and needs ahead of ours. Let's go ahead and read non-assertive definition. Non-assertive behavior is passive and indirect. It communicates a message of inferiority. By being non-assertive, we allow the wants, needs, and rights of others to be more important than our own. Non-assertive behavior helps create win-lose situations. The person behaving non-assertively loses or is at best disregarded while allowing others to win. Now let's move on to the next thing we learned in week 2. What page now? You don't have to turn the page. Anybody remember the next? Well, it's on your laminated sheet. That's why we made the laminated sheet. Imagine, what does that mean to you guys? What do you remember from that lesson about imagery? If you're having trouble being assertive, what's up?
Hoping something comes true, or being wishing something could be a certain way.
That's very close. But when we went over imagery and using your imagination, what we talked about was if you're having problems being assertive with somebody, or if you're having problems being less aggressive, maybe you have a problem that you're too aggressive, imagine how somebody who is assertive, who isn't aggressive, who isn't passive, would handle the situation and then emulate that and act the way they would. Imagine yourself being assertive and being less aggressive, or being less passive, and then act what you imagine. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
Or if you're thinking about something, being hopeful that something comes true.
Yes.
That's
Well,
got to do with beliefs,
That's
too.
the whole idea of using imagery, using your imagination, because the whole point of this class is to teach you how to be more assertive and less aggressive and less passive. And if you're here and you're paying attention and you're participating, that means you want to be more assertive, which means you do have hope that you can be and that relationships will be better in the future. Does that make sense? So you're right. Today we're going to talk about emotional awareness. Before we get into that, I don't know if you guys remember from the first couple weeks, I always like to put scenarios on the board because the book talks a lot. It uses employment situations to go through role plays and scenarios and to explain assertiveness. And if you guys remember that list we wrote on the board of situations, what were some of the situations that we encounter in our day-to-day lives where we want to be less aggressive or less passive, where we want to be more assertive? I'll put some of mine down. My landlord,
Family.
Neighbors, problems with neighbors. What were some
Family,
of the
friends.
community? Be more specific with community if you
Yeah,
don't mind.
Neighborhood, you're good.
Neighbors,
Church.
people with church,
Clubs,
boss,
Coworkers.
co-workers.
clubs,
Hold on one second. Strangers, people on the street.
He said clubs, like, could be a book club or something.
Who said club? Be more specific. Give me a real world scenario where you want to be less
book club.
a club.
Organizations.
I'm gonna put extracurricular, and I'm sure I'm gonna spell it wrong.
You got it.
Extracurricular activities. Doctors,
Oh,
therapists.
that's a good one. Yeah.
I'm going to put
Medical.
providers.
Yeah, providers, yeah.
Covers medical, mental health,
School,
schools. You're right.
or
You
education.
need to be more assertive with your professor, right? What are some other ones? Oh, one of my biggest, significant others. Husband, wife, boyfriend,
Spouse.
girlfriend.
Children. Yes.
I think family covers siblings, kids,
Yeah,
extended family.
yeah.
Anyone else? Any of the other situations that we talked about where we, in this room, are gonna run into situations where we want to be more assertive with people who, we wanna stand up for ourselves more, or we wanna
Library.
learn how to be less angry with people.
When you said passive, that means you're letting other
Let people
people
walk
take
over.
advantage of you
Yes,
too much.
absolutely.
Take advantage of you.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's a good one.
you know,
I just don't answer the phone. When you get
I'm
about
gonna-
20 calls a day.
I'm gonna put commerce with 2 M's. Is that right?
Yep.
Phone company overcharges you. Electric company overcharges you or charges you a late fee, but you pay it on time, et cetera. That's a real world situation where we need to assert ourselves, we need to stand up for ourselves. We need to do it without yelling, without cussing, without letting them just saying, okay, whatever, and you letting them take advantage of us.
Also cable, if you receive a cable
Yep.
bill.
Absolutely. I've had problems with a lot of utilities.
All of the
where I've had to
above.
call and say, look, this isn't right, I want you to fix it, you will fix it. You can be mad, remember, when we do role play, you can be mad and still be assertive.
You know what I think is funny about
What's
telemarketers is, I'll say, are you a machine? Oh, no. And then they keep going and they're a machine. It's like the machine even is to tell you, no, I'm not a machine, but they are a machine.
I have a 13-year-old son who has a cell phone,
Oh,
and he gets telemarketing calls, and he has decided to play games with them.
oh, yeah.
And he'll get a telemarketing call and he'll ask, now, what kind of pizza did you want? Did you want pepperoni?
Oh, yeah.
Every time he comes up with something different. Do you like jazz? I really like jazz. It's funny stuff.
It throws the whole machine off.
All right, so that's where we're at. These are the scenarios that we're going to use to come up with role plays or talk about what we're learning. And this is what we've gone over so far. And today we're going to talk about emotional awareness. What does that mean to you guys? Why do you think being in touch with your emotions matters when it comes to being less aggressive or less passive and becoming positively assertive? Well, Bob, I love your input, but I want to get some input from some people who haven't had a chance to share yet. So, anybody? What? And if you don't think it matters at all, tell me. Why do you think it doesn't matter?
I mean, you can't let your emotions, build up to where you're gonna hurt somebody or hurt yourself, whatever, and you gotta control them.
Yep.
You gotta learn to control your
If you
emotions.
recognize your emotions appropriately, the appropriate way to act on them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my co-facilitator here gave me the best point when it comes to being in touch with your emotions and assertiveness. And I think he used the phrase, choose your battles.
Oh, yeah.
If you are in touch with what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, you may realize, yeah, I'm really mad that that person cut me off, but is it worth, chasing them down and confronting them and assertively confronting them about them cutting me off? Maybe not. Maybe I need to
Or even if it's, I guess the thing that was coming to my mind is with teenagers, because that came up with my nieces. Is it, let's say, if it's something about safety, then of course that's a battle you want to choose when you're disciplining your kids or teens or grandchildren or something. But if it's a matter of them styling their hair a certain way, or earrings, and that could be boys or girls, whatever, that may not be a battle you want to engage in.
Right.
Because unless, of course, it's a school dress code.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's something that maybe could tear the family apart
Right.
if you're always getting on them about their clothes, when really we're gonna be more concerned about their health and their safety.
Right.
Would you not agree?
Right. That's
Okay.
right.
So that's why that came to mind when I discussed it with them before class.
What are emotions that prevent us from being assertive, that prevent us from standing up for ourselves?
Guilt.
Guilt, the big one. Shame,
Fear.
fear, that's one of my biggest.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you really want to confront your neighbor whose music is too loud if they're 6'5", 250 pounds, muscular, and they look scary to you, maybe?
And they have a gun.
Or
I
knife.
don't.
Okay, so let's get into the book. We're going to read page 27. The emotions of assertiveness. Okay, who would like to read the first couple paragraphs on page 27 for us? Anybody? Going once? Thank you.
Human beings are emotional creatures. All of us have feelings of some sort every waking moment. The emotional components of developing our assertiveness can be one of the most challenging undertakings. One reason for this is because most of us learn lessons about feelings that do not support assertiveness. A few of these lessons are reviewed in this section, and some new ideas are put forth to help you learn to use your emotions as you develop assertiveness. One lesson transmitted in our culture is that females are emotional and irrational, and males are unemotional and rational. A true statement? Not really. Everyone is emotional. Boys and men often don't learn about emotional honesty because they are taught early that they are supposed to be they aren't supposed to be emotional. Girls and women often learn exaggerated emotional responses to situations because they are expected to be emotional.
Thank you. Any comments, thoughts, questions?
I think that's very true, and I think that's a part of the reason like November is men's, mental health awareness month, to like let people know it's okay to not be okay, especially
Yeah,
the stigma that's, put on men
yeah.
to always be so strong, or that, bravado.
I think depends really because, if you're a single mother home versus a two-parent home, I think that will make a difference too, in how you were raised. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's changing. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
it's definitely getting better.
Yeah,
than
yeah.
it has been in the past.
Yeah, from like my grandfather to my father to my brothers, I think there's definitely been a shift in
Are
that.
women more easily to cry?
Please?
Are women more easily to cry?
Excellent question. That's the whole point of this,
Yeah.
this page. That's the question to us, and that's what I want you to answer. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think it's true a little bit.
Who agrees with that? Who thinks women are more emotional?
I mean, I just think it's on personality because I am, but my sister's not. So I think it just depends on the person.
I don't think that women are more emotional than men, but I do agree with the book. I think women show emotion more often than men because of the culture that a lot of men, at least in this country, my age, have been raised in.
Yeah.
I grew up in the South on a farm, and men don't cry.
Yeah,
Rub your finger.
I was gonna ask that, which is for the men in the group, what do you remember about being told about being emotional when you were young?
Stop being a sissy.
Stop being a sissy.
Stop being a crybaby.
Being a crybaby.
Anybody
You ain't
else?
supposed to cry. Stuff
Men
like
aren't
that.
supposed to cry.
I was going to tell you, stop being an idiot.
Stop being an idiot. And how about women? What were you told about being emotional when you were young?
Oh, that it was okay. You can cry, it's okay.
Now, I want to know from the women, honestly, you don't have to tell me the truth, at least tell yourself the truth. If you meet a man who is emotional and shows his emotions, is it a turnoff? Have you been raised to believe that men who show emotions and are sensitive is It isn't as much of a man? I'm
No.
curious.
No,
Really?
it's not a turn off to me.
No.
It's more of a
like
turn
it.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like women.
it is.
Remember that, guys?
So women, how many of you have been in a relationship with a man where you're thinking, man, I wish he would just be more emotionally available?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
definitely,
definitely.
definitely.
So-
Yes.
But it's somewhere along the line, we've gotten this message,
Yeah.
remember? You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Now, what
Don't
I
show
remember,
weakness.
when my son was little, he was probably 7, and he was in a basketball game, and he got hit in the face with the basketball, and he started crying, and the coach said, "You need to toughen up." I'm like,
By the way, that's
no,
still,
he doesn't.
that still goes on today. My son plays baseball, and his coach is the same way. Walk it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah,
Right. And
Oh,
I'm saying,
I would lose it.
especially at that age, no.
yeah.
So it is a cultural phenomenon
Yes.
where now you think women would not like that, or at least you
Yeah,
said that.
yeah.
But here women are saying, what the heck?
Yeah.
I want a guy who's emotional.
Yeah, Stephen, you had a comment?
There's
or
actually a song called Boys Don't Cry.
Oh, yeah. That reminded me of
Well, I
song
agree with
Girls
the book.
Don't
That's a
Cry.
creepy song too. Isn't the one where they say, "Big boys don't cry, big boys don't cry"?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, I can't help but say, the men I've dated, they would totally freak out if I cried.
Really?
To the
Yeah.
point, and this probably shouldn't be on tape, but that I've been smothered with a pillow when I was crying. And other situations. So, guys don't like girls to cry either. At least the ones I've dated, which of course I'm not with them for that reason, because I think that's so insensitive. When my father died, I was told by the fella, and we didn't last much longer after that, he said, "I didn't cry when my father died, and I don't know why you keep crying." And it had only been 2-3 hours. So, that's my experiences. So I think it can work both ways.
You know, honestly, my husband, I can count on one hand the times I've seen him cry.
Mhm.
But those are the times though when I felt most connected to him because I could actually
Really?
be there for him the way he's always been there for me.
Yeah,
And that was very, very, it was strong. It helped us build our relationship.
oh, yeah, definitely. I can see that.
I'm not saying this is healthy. I think it's the way I was raised. I think I would be embarrassed and humiliated if my girlfriend called me crying. Does that make sense?
If she what?
Called me crying.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
I don't know.
that's
Dave.
interesting.
Well, they were very appropriate times
When-
too. I mean, sorry.
When I cry,
Well, let's keep in mind, we're peers here. We
Yeah.
all have lived experience with mental health problems.
Mhm.
And people with mental health problems can cry more than others who don't. I suffer from bipolar depression, so
Mhm.
that causes additional problems to the already ingrained stereotypes and
Yeah.
cultural things that have been taught. Yes?
When they had to put my kitty to sleep, I almost cried a little bit.
Oh, my God. I wailed.
The last time I cried or I had no shame, no embarrassment whatsoever, my dog of like 13 years died.
Yeah.
And I was divorced, and my ex-wife called me and asked me to come over and bury him, and we cried together and hugged each other, and we were divorced, and it was that sad. So yeah, I think there are times when everybody's gonna cry no matter what.
Yeah.
I cry when
And I
my
think
mom
it's
died.
acceptable, yeah.
I
cried when my
mom
sister died.
I think
Yeah.
even the
Yeah.
cultural stereotypes that are wrong, in my opinion, teach that it's okay to cry at certain
Right,
times. and
right,
certain things.
exactly, yeah.
Bob, you were gonna say something, and I interrupted you?
No?
Okay, now let's move on to the next part of this page.
Yeah.
Next two
David,
paragraphs.
That was a tough page.
Yes, Bob.
I was a little confused about the difference between aggressive and assertive. I was thinking aggressive is more of a confrontational type thing than assertive. But you can be still aggressive and be direct, like you said.
Okay, throughout this class, every week, Maria and I, or a volunteer in the class and I, role play assertive confrontation and aggressive confrontation, because there's a big difference. Because one of the things that keep most people from standing up for themselves is they feel like if they say no, that they're being mean. If they say, you are going to do this by Friday, or I'm going to do this, that's being mean or aggressive. Standing up for yourselves, introducing, and later I hope you come back for the last classes, because the last part of this class is assertive confrontation. You repeat yourself, you introduce consequences. So the book teaches us when you're angry, when you're upset, when you have to confront somebody, here's how to do it in a way that you can still be respectful, stand up for yourself, still respect their rights, and try to understand the other person even if you don't agree with them. But you can be mad and be assertive, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it when you interrupt me in class. Don't interrupt me anymore. Is that aggressive or assertive?
Aggressive.
Aggressive.
Assertive.
Aggressive. I used you statements. Now listen to this. This may sound a little bit different. I don't like being interrupted during class. Please don't interrupt me during class anymore. Aggressive or assertive?
Assertive.
I told her what I wanted. I'm mad at you. I don't like being interrupted.
I can tell.
Please don't interrupt me anymore. Aggressive or assertive?
I'll try my best.
Assertive.
Assertive.
I just told her I'm mad at her. I don't like being interrupted. Please don't interrupt me anymore. That, according to the book, I agree, is assertive. Standing up for yourself. I'm being direct, honest, and respectful. And then in a future class, we're going to learn about different assertive styles. Because you passed that along. All right. So the next. Sorry, I get sidetracked sometimes. Next two paragraphs on page 27. Who would like to read that? Somebody who hasn't read yet. Anybody? Going once?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Another myth most of us grow up believing is that people can make each other feel. For example, do you believe that you can make someone angry? Do you worry about being assertive and hurting someone's feelings? This myth teaches us to believe that our words and actions literally cause other people to feel the emotions they feel. It teaches us to believe that we have no choice about our own feelings. It also teaches us to believe that we are responsible for one another's feelings. Why is it called a myth? Because it is not true. Feelings are a choice. Although most people don't believe that when they first hear it or read it, further explanation may help you understand the truth of that statement.
Okay, before we get into any examples, I want to ask people, who believes that you can make somebody angry? Now I'm going to word it differently. Who believes that you can
I have a
Ooh,
feeling.
I'm
I
having
think
a
I
hard
know what you're
time.
gonna say.
what do you think?
Well, I'm not positive. I don't know if you were gonna say something about have the power to make them happy. I don't know.
Who believes that you can affect somebody else's mood?
Yeah, that's sort of what I was getting at, yeah.
There's a difference
Yeah.
between you causing their emotions, and that's what the
Yeah.
book's trying to
Yeah.
point out.
Because
So
you
for-
can't make somebody.
That's
you
what
know.
you're saying.
So I'm going to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I see what you're saying, you can affect them, but you can't.
Yes.
cause them.
Right, right.
So I'm divorced. Let's say that my ex and I have been arguing for a week.
Yeah.
And I send her a letter in the mail. And she sees the letter from me and she starts feeling anger. Then she opens it up and finds it's a check because I didn't give her enough money last month.
Right,
Did I cause her to be angry?
right.
No, I'm sending her a check.
Right.
She chose to get angry because
Yeah.
she was thinking about me, she made some assumptions, and she chose to feel angry. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what the book's saying. You can't make somebody feel anything.
Right.
And that's what I was sort of getting at, yeah.
But let's say that I sent her a postcard with some unflattering words on it.
Yeah.
And she got angry. Did I make her angry?
Yeah.
No, the book's
No.
saying I can't make her, I can't control what she decides to feel.
Right.
But I
Right.
can influence her, I can affect
You can
what she feels.
influence,
Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's today's lesson, by the way. We don't have to read anything else.
I think the more confident you are in yourself as we continue to learn and build our confidence, then it's less likely that somebody is going to even cause you to feel negativity. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect at this, but I know, I'll just take my sister for example. She truly, at least from what I can tell, she's going through stage 4 cancer, and she's smiling all the time, even despite her serious pain and hair loss and such. When I had stage 2 cancer, I cried all the time, you know, but for some reason, she just has this joy in her. So I think it depends on how strong your, what's the word I'm trying to find, your, just sense of self is. And I think that's what maybe this class of assertiveness is, the more sense of self you have.
Sense of purpose.
And purpose and joy and everything we learn here at the center of hope and recovery, I think the more you will be able to ward off the negativity of others. That's just how I feel, but somebody else have a thought on that?
Well, here's something I want to
Yeah,
talk
feel
about a
free
little
to
bit,
share.
which is, I think it's hard to not have a feeling.
Yeah.
So let's say you say something to me and I notice myself feeling really angry. The feeling is a feeling, right? You
Right.
can't stop that. Or I feel happy or I feel sad or whatever it is. The feeling is just a feeling. It's kind of what you do with it.
Right.
is
It's
the
what, how you
important
Did
choose
thing.
you write
it.
this book?
Yeah, I know.
Because how many of you have been mad?
Yeah.
Angry about something?
Yeah.
And the part that's important after that is to say, well, that's an interesting feeling, kind of. This is an interesting feeling
Yeah.
I'm having. What's it about?
Mhm.
Because to say, I don't want to say to you, oh, I don't want you to be angry.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're not, that's not okay. You can never have those feelings.
Mhm.
Because that, how many of us are
Well,
gonna
the
be
worst
able to
thing
do
you can
that?
tell to somebody is, oh, calm down, or cheer up.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
Right. I mean, how many-
Get over it.
You can't
Yeah.
stop the feeling,
Yeah.
but it's this, it kind of saying, I'm feeling this way. Let's think about what that's about, is the important
Why am I
step.
feeling it, and what am I gonna do with that information?
Yeah.
That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Be
don't
aware
let
of
that
your emotions.
feeling become a mood
Yeah, yeah.
that you
Okay.
go into and it lasts.
And I know that this is just an example too, it's totally off topic, but when I worked in the hospital for, which I did for 35 years, patients were in pain, they just found out about diagnoses, they had surgeries and healing and all of this, and if they took it out on me, I did not take it personal. I learned not to take it personal. And so I never was upset. I was only there to help them and serve them and teach them and whatever. And if I could make their day great, if I couldn't, I did not take it personal. And I think sometimes we, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think sometimes we take it personal, and it's not. It's about them, not about us. Does that make sense? Is that anything about what you're
It
talking
is,
about?
but it's also just allowing yourself to have the feeling you're having. You
Yeah,
know, that if
and be
I'm
okay
mad,
with that. You know,
You're gonna, we all have those feelings.
Yeah.
You can't stop it, but it's what you do. when
what you
that's
do with
you're
it, what you
talking
do with
about.
it, sure, yes.
Actually,
Medicine can cause you to feel different ways.
it can,
That's exactly true.
no question.
It's exactly
Every
right.
time I take steroids for my MS, it messes with my moods and my mental health, and
Yeah. When they change medicines, when they up it, when they down it, et cetera, that's
But-
exactly right.
by the way, you guys have excellent points, but let me bring this back to
No, go.
assertiveness, because, yes, you're right, we need to be in touch with our emotions. But one of the things that keeps us from being assertive with other people is we're too worried about whether or not we're making somebody else feel something. They have to worry about how they deal with the emotions that we may trigger or may, influence.
Good
Um,
point, good point.
And stranger on the street. You probably cared a lot less about angering or upsetting a stranger on the street as you might your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife. Does that make sense? So we have to keep in mind who we're talking to,
That's exactly right.
how we're feeling, and how we may influence how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And
But I think to
love
be
that.
polite to the strangers, I think it's in our best interest too. I mean, not to just like treat them like they're a piece of dirt or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So one more quick example. We're not going to read the next 2 or 3, 4 pages, but there's an example in the middle of page 28. If I decided to hire a clown to come to the recovery center on everybody in here's birthday and sing you a song and
It'd be kind of causing.
dance and stuff like that,
Or
How would
listen
you
to the radio.
how would you feel if I hired a clown to come in and surprise you for your birthday here at the
You would
recovery center?
probably feel happy, right?
No.
Well,
Yes.
hold on.
I'm afraid of
The
clowns.
whole point is, how would you feel?
Good.
How would you feel?
Surprised?
Would anybody feel awkward?
Yeah.
I do not like surprises.
Yeah.
I do not like being the center of attention. I would not like that. Who would like that? Who would think it'd be really cool if a clown came in on a birthday and with balloons and sang a song and danced? Who would like that and think that would be nice?
Extrovert.
Terry would? That's the point.
I'm an extrovert.
I'm going to send the clown, but I can't control how you're going to feel about it. I can't control how you're going to feel about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the act is the same, but how people
Right,
feel about that
yeah,
is different because the act doesn't dictate how the person feels.
yeah,
The person dictates how they feel.
right. Good point.
Speaking of which, let's get to my favorite page of this week. Page 33.
Thanks for getting us back on track.
Sorry.
I said, thanks for getting us
Yes.
back on track.
Now remember, and I'm going to steal Maria's phrase again because I love it, because that's at the heart of what this week of this class wants us to walk away with. What are we feeling, why are we feeling it, and what battles do we want to fight? What's worth standing up for yourself and asserting yourself over? What are some scenarios where, you know what, my best friend, I have a best friend, this is a true story. I have a friend, and I'm very old. I'm almost 50, and I have a friend who I've known since I was 14.
You're not that old.
You're not that old.
And we've both had good financial times in our lives, and we've both had times where we were struggling a lot. And there have been times where he's loaned me hundreds of dollars to get my car fixed, and there have been times when I've loaned him money for rent. And I don't feel taken advantage of by him if he were to come to me every month and ask me for $50 to help him get through the month. Because of the relationship, the friendship, it wouldn't bother me at all. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But if there was a homeless person who, and I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for homeless people, I've been homeless, but if there was a homeless person that stood outside the recovery center every day and asked me for $10 every day, I'd get a little irritated with him, and I would probably assert myself and tell him to stop asking me for money. Why? Because I don't have a relationship with him. I don't have the same feelings for that person.
Right.
So in one situation, I am perfectly fine with somebody asking me for money on a regular basis, and in another I'm not. And that's what I mean by choosing our battles. How important is it? How important is the relationship to us? How important is the transgression that we want to, or think, maybe I shouldn't let this person keep doing this, or calling me this name. My mother is another example. If somebody at the recovery center said, David, you know, if you really want to get healthier mentally and emotionally, you just need to start going to church more, I would assert myself and tell them to stop telling me that because I'm tired of hearing it. My mom is a diehard Catholic. She loves me probably more than anyone else in the world except for maybe my children love me. And I really believe that. Everything she tells me comes from the purest love from her heart. And she tells me on a regular basis, David, you really just need to go to church and get mad and get over this, and you'll be fine. And she means it. And she says it because she loves me and she wants me to be better. I disagree with her, but this is one of those choose your battle things. I'm not going to assert myself with my mom. I'm going to let her say that as much as she wants. Does that make sense?
That's like my mom, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not worth hurting her feelings. It's not asserting myself with her and telling her to stop saying that kind of stuff isn't hurting me because I understand where she's coming from. So that's the whole point. Understand what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, so that you can choose your battle. So let's read on page 33. Who would like to read the first paragraph? Somebody who has not read yet. Henry? James? Anybody?
I can read.
James?
Oh, okay,
You read the
James
first
read.
paragraph, and then Henry
Okay.
can read the next two.
Oh, okay, I'll read. All right, you can
An
read.
important part of developing assertiveness is expressing your honest emotions. Many people don't do that. Even if you understand that being emotional is okay and a part of being human, you may need to practice to talk about your feelings. The assertive way to express feelings is to say, I feel, I'm feeling, I am, I was, and I get. What follows each phrase is a word or words describing a feeling.
Thank you. Henry, would you read the next few
Yeah.
paragraphs?
Yeah, first you must know what you are feeling to figure out which emotion you are experiencing. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Mad, sad, glad, or scared? Those are the four basic human emotions, and this is a good question to help you get in touch with your feelings quickly and accurately. Some feelings are a combination of two or more, or of the four categories. The following table may help you develop vulnerability of emotions as you learn to express your feelings in direct, open, and honest manner.
Okay. Remember what I told you in week 1. If you forget everything you learned in this class, just remember to be honest, direct, and respectful. So right now we're talking about feelings. So my significant other does something that irritates me or really bothers me. And she says, "You don't mind, do you?" And I say, "Oh, no, it's okay." Am I being honest? So I've broken the first rule of being assertive. Well, yeah, it kind of bothers me when you do that or say that. So I just wanted to point out why being in touch with our feelings and being honest about our feelings with ourselves and others is part of the main rule of being assertive, being honest, direct, and respectful to other people. So now, let's go through the list. Do you want to do the index cards or just use vocal polling?
Yeah, let's just do both. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Let's just do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody almost cut you off on the interstate and you almost get into an accident. How do you feel?
Irritated.
Irritated.
Then that.
Scared, then mad? Anyone else?
Ticked off.
Ticked off? Anyone else?
Livid.
Hmm?
Livid.
Livid. I mean, you really almost got into an accident. You had to slam on your brakes. It was really close. Anyone else?
Angry.
Okay. Now, somebody pulls in front of you a little too close to your car while driving down the road. How do you feel?
Depends on how my day's going.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, that's a good point.
What if you are feeling furious? Somebody pulls in front of you in traffic, just cuts you off. You didn't have to slam on your brakes.
I'm a
And you're, all of a
so
sudden,
I'm
you catch yourself feeling furious.
Overreaction.
What's the first thing you should do according to what we just read?
Ask yourself,
Ask yourself what?
what are you feeling?
Yep, and why? I'm furious. Why are you furious?
Actually, my boss.
Because I've been having a horrible day,
Bad.
and this is just the last thing I needed right now. And I'm tired of people cutting me off and telling me, you know, I'm not doing a good job, and the kids aren't listening, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I'm feeling furious when this person cut me off. So is it a battle you want to fight to chase down that car, call the police, call them all sorts of names,
No.
kick their tires?
You know, the only one that upsets me, I don't get furious at anything except for mainly when people jaywalk and they see me coming, and especially when they have children and strollers and they're looking down. They're not even looking to see if anybody's driving. And they're willing to put their children's life at risk. And I stop, and I don't hurt them, but it's like, I don't even understand. Because that's the first thing you learn when you're a little kid is look both ways. And they're actually literally having 2 and 3 kids and a stroller and everything else and just pushing them right into the road. And then I'm just like, thank you, God. I did not kill those children or an adult. And they still aren't even looking up. That upsets me very much, you know? Anyway.
How many people have ever been in a psychiatrist or nurse practitioner or therapist office or case manager's office and perceived that you were being treated like a child or disrespectful?
Not like a child, but maybe more like a cash cow sometimes.
How do you feel when
What is it called?
Like a cash cow, like.
Oh, just want your money?
just another?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I follow you.
How many people have ever been told that they're non-compliant? No?
Yeah.
I'm the only one.
I have.
Maybe you are.
I have.
Maybe I brought up a bad example.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some of the other ones. Maria, would you like to?
Oh, okay, sure. Let's see. How do you all feel if you had to speak to 100, we didn't say that yet, did we?
Nope.
Speak to 100 people or more?
I'm
Embarrassed.
nervous.
I'm terrified.
Are you?
Embarrassed,
Okay.
Nervous.
Okay.
nervous.
What about 10 people that you know?
The people I know speech.
Yeah, that you know.
Inhibited.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a difference there, because I can speak to 1,000, but if my family's there, or let's just say a bunch of really, for me, being a dietitian, if there were a bunch of, like, highfalutin dietitians, then I would freak out.
Oh,
So-
I forgot to point out one of the
Yeah.
most important things. There is no right answer.
Oh, yeah,
I
no.
will not stand in front of 100 people and speak. I will avoid it
Oh,
at all
really?
costs. I will
Really?
say, no, thank you, I will not do it. Who in here would be willing, if asked, to stand in front of, so there's somebody who would. There's
Yeah,
another
yeah, I
person
would.
who would.
Depending on the
You would,
topic,
I
but
would, yeah.
probably.
I get anxious in a room full, how many
Excited.
people are in here? 20 maybe, if that?
If I speak in front of like 20 people about myself,
Uh-huh.
even then I'm conscious of everything I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But my
You know,
point
if they
is,
want my experience, strength and hope or something,
Uh-huh.
you can feel a little nervous,
I feel a little
maybe
nervous.
embarrassed, maybe.
It takes
self-conscious
time,
about it.
because I used to be a wreck, and now it doesn't faze me.
I feel like an open book or something.
Well, you are, if you're talking about yourself.
Vulnerable.
So the first point
Yeah.
is, there is no
But
right
you know what I
answer.
mean?
Yeah.
I would feel terrified. You would be willing to do it?
Oh, especially if we were like.
But how would you
something-
feel if you had to stand up in front
I'd
of
feel
100 people?
excited,
Okay.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Why would you feel excited? What else would you be feeling? Excited? Any
depending
nervousness?
on the topic, it would be a good way to share my experience or,
Okay.
maybe help somebody.
Right.
So you're in touch with your emotions
Right.
because you know why you'd feel excited. I would be terrified. I have panic attacks and agoraphobia, and I would be worried about passing out or fainting and all. I know why I know why I would be terrified.
Here's
But
an interesting thing, though.
Yeah.
So what are the things that you experience that that you interpret as excited?
what are the good emotions? Why?
Do you
Like hanging
notice-
out with friends or.
No, I mean, do you have an increase in your pulse rate?
Oh, yeah, oh,
Do
Fight or
your-
flight. I know where you're going with this.
Blood pressure go up?
oh, yeah,
Mhm.
Do you, maybe you're feeling a little like hard sit?
Yeah?
yeah.
And so when you're feeling,
Oh, yeah.
do you have a sense?
I am experiencing fight or flight just like you are.
Yeah.
And You're fighting, but I'm fleeing.
Interestingly,
Yeah.
sometimes a difference in interpretation. So you're feeling the same feelings,
And we
right?
choose how we let ourselves feel.
But but
It's
also
harder.
just, it's how you kind of learn to interpret them.
That's what my psychiatrist said. He said, I've taught my brain to interpret certain
Well,
triggers
and we all do that.
as a horrible, life-threatening experience.
Yeah, because I don't like being alone. That's like
Right.
the thing, I want to be with people.
I
So
get
being around in
anxious.
front of that many people, it's like, these are new friends I could
I get anxious when I'm not alone. When I have people that I want to come over to my apartment come over, I get
Yeah.
anxious and start getting nervous. Okay. Anyone else want to comment on the speaking in front of a group of people? How would you feel and why?
I feel scared
Nervous.
Nervous? Why would you feel scared?
because it's talking to people and you don't know if you say the
Say
stuff
something
right
stupid,
or not.
yeah. You see, we're on the same page.
What, if you say what?
Say something.
Say
Don't
something.
want to say the
Oh,
wrong
okay.
You
thing.
just feel vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Okay,
right, next one.
okay. How would y'all feel if you received the winning lottery ticket, and I'm gonna put on there that you won a lot of money?
I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I
Exuberant.
would have been too excited.
Okay.
Exuberant.
Now, keep in mind, most people that win the lottery, lose it all within a few years.
Would anyone feel just, eh?
I feel happy but also overwhelmed.
That's the part I would be
I'm
overwhelmed with,
like,
yeah.
2,000 for every week for the rest of your life.
oh, wait, let's use this as a role play.
Yeah.
All right, you just won $1 million in the lottery and I'm your cousin. Can you give me $100,000? I really need to
Which
fix up my
cousin?
house.
Yeah. I've got a couple hundred cousins, literally, so.
I do too.
Yeah, you must have a big family like me.
Anyone
Yeah.
else have lottery thoughts before we move on to the next example?
Yeah.
I see you skipped one of my favorites, so go ahead
Oh,
and scratch it off.
oh, yeah, I wasn't even gonna go there.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
I was, that's why I wrote it on
Oh,
sheets.
okay, he had the open zipper
Open
in
zipper in public,
public.
or your shirt's tuck away, tuck.
Does that face
tuck
any
out,
of you?
Or
That
you walk out of the bathroom, you have toilet paper
Toilet
stuck to your
paper.
I'd
shoe.
rather somebody tell
Yeah.
me. I tell people.
Yeah.
Or like if you
Yeah,
have something
I
in your
tell
teeth.
people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, something in your teeth, the open
Yeah.
zipper, the toilet paper on your foot. I mean,
Something
I've had
embarrassing.
all those, so
I've
I
been
don't know,
glad
does
the person
that bother
told me,
you
but I've
guys?
also turned probably 50 Shades of Red. I'm
Yes.
embarrassed about it still.
With what?
If my zipper were
Too
down.
embarrassing.
Oh, okay. Well, I think as long as you wear underwear, you're.
How many of you would tell a person if you had that?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good
I
question.
tell people. You guys tell
Right.
people?
How many would feel too embarrassed to tell them?
No.
Because I don't like when I come home from here,
Yes.
and I
And
just
it's a
got done
stranger?
smiling and saying goodbye to everybody, and I get in the car, I look at my rear view, and I see the like lettuce on my tooth, and I'm like,
I would
that
probably
bothers me.
Yeah,
I
I
put
have-
them aside to tell them though.
I have come here, or gone to the grocery store or here,
Uh-huh.
gotten home, realized my zipper was open. But I have underwear on.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would,
Yeah.
it bothers me as much if somebody came up to me
Yeah.
here or
Yeah.
at the grocery store and said, hey, your zipper's open.
Yeah.
I probably would be more embarrassed then than if
Yeah.
I just realized it at home.
Don't
after
worry,
the
I'm
fact.
gonna tell you, I tell everybody, all those things, yeah. 'cause
By the
I
way,
don't
how
want
many people are
anybody-
checking right now?
I'm not checking. I'm
All right,
not checking.
next.
Okay, let's see. Your boss asked for a project to be done early. How do you feel?
Nervous.
I don't like it.
Depends on what else I have on my plate.
By the way, let
Yeah.
me bring this back to the
Oh, yeah,
workbook
yeah.
because
Anxious.
anxious versus terrified. Would you be terrified if your boss asked you to
I'm
finish
not
something
terrified.
early? Or just nervous and anxious?
Yeah.
That's the whole point is measuring how strong you feel and are you
Yeah.
feeling the right emotion.
And
why
it
you're
probably
feeling
just
it.
depends on too, what's going on, what the big picture is,
Situationally.
you know? Like if you have the time or not or whatever. So does anybody feel anything about that?
I would be concerned about what the consequences are gonna be if I don't finish it. on
Well, that
time.
too, yeah, exactly. Okay,
Couple more.
find $1 on the ground. Woohoo!
Are you gonna feel the same way about that as you felt about winning $1 million in the lottery?
No.
Dollar,
Yeah.
no. Okay.
20, maybe.
Okay, this one's a tough one. Someone you love dies.
Ooh, I have an interesting answer for
I
this one
would
after you guys
feel
talk.
sad.
I'm despondent. How are you guys?
Sad.
I'm upset, angry, sad, all mixed together.
Yeah, yeah,
Confused.
yeah.
Really?
I mean, really, the stages of grief are like all over the place, and you go back and forth typically. So I think that's probably true of everybody, you say, you think?
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think,
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I think grief is different for everyone and there's no wrong way to
There
grieve
isn't,
either.
there isn't, no.
Anybody ever
guilty.
feel relieved when somebody's done?
You know what?
It's
I have.
situational.
Yes.
That's a good point.
I feel guilty
Mhm.
because
Guilty for the
I've
relief.
been fortunate that a lot of the people in my life that have died have been 90 years old,
Oh.
78 years old.
You know,
I
Not
don't feel
that-
guilty for
Not
that.
that any ages,
You
but
said you felt relieved?
I feel guilty for not feeling sadder when my 92-year-old grandmother died. I was actually happy for her.
You can feel
Yeah.
relieved that they're out of the
But I felt
pain.
guilty
Yeah.
because everyone else is crying and you
I
know.
felt relieved because my grandma, the day before, I told her, I said, you get to be with Pop-Pop soon, which is my grandpa. And she put a big smile on her face, and she had it for quite a while. Next day she died. And I was like, you know what, I was happy for her, even though I cried. Is what you were gonna say.
When my mom died, she had end-stage renal failure, and so that's a hard road to go.
It is.
So when she finally died, I felt relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because you can feel sad, but still
yeah.
relieved
That is hard. I know that situation, yeah, sure. So it makes sense.
They were
Okay.
pretty much-
Oh, this is just sort of a funny one, but I know the feeling. Favorite TV show gets canceled. Your favorite.
Oh.
Get mad.
Frustrated.
I am mad and upset.
I just get irritated. I'll find
Yeah,
something else
yeah,
to
and
watch.
irritated, yeah. Especially if that's the one
Oh,
thing you
hold
look
on.
forward to.
Hold on,
Yeah.
we had a Furious. Right?
Who was furious?
I guess I said that.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are no wrong answers, that's the whole point of this.
Did you have more to it?
Being in touch with what you're feeling and why you're feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah, that can make me really mad. Okay. You see a snake on the ground near your foot, which I've had that happen. How
I
do you
would
feel?
scream.
Yep, me too. I did scream. Yep. Okay. Anybody else? How would that make you feel?
Surprised.
made me feel fearful because I'm
Oh,
scared of
see,
snakes
what?
anyway.
I'm a reptile lover too.
I said I'd be surprised, then I'd pick it up and put it in a
Okay,
safe spot.
hold on, we got pickuppers and what?
I said I feel fearful because I'm scared of snakes anyway.
Me too.
There you go.
I'm running.
I got in trouble with my former father-in-law because I was at his house and I was standing outside on the porch and a snake was basically wrapping itself around my foot, and it was not a poisonous snake, but I'm afraid of snakes, and they're fine in the woods, but not around my foot, and I stepped on its head and killed it, and he got very angry with me because it was a good snake that keeps the mice away, but I said, well, your good snake shouldn't have been too close to my foot.
My friend's son, who really likes me a lot, now he's been in the military for a long time, he's a great guy, has kids, wife, whatever, but he was younger. And he said, Maria, and he put his arm around me to hug me, and I thought, he's not that friendly. Well, he hugged me with a humongous boa constrictor. I was ready to strangle him. He thought it was funny. It was not funny. But anyway,
My
yes.
provider, she's got a 5-year-old daughter, her name's Elena, and she held a a python on her neck,
Yeah.
and she's only 5 years old, and she held him, and the guy asked me, he said, "You want to hold him?" I said, "No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm cool. I'm good with that."
Good.
Not me.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't blame you.
let's wrap it up by reading page 34. Who has not read yet who would like to read? Anyone? Thank you.
For the next week or two, when you feel an emotion, stop and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Mad, sad, glad, scared? When you identify your feeling, make yourself aware of the underlying self-talk associated with it. Learn to recognize the physical symptoms related to that feeling. What signals accompany anger, fear, sadness, and joy? Recognizing these physical clues will help you increase your emotional awareness. This is the first step toward expressing your feelings assertively. In the next section on behavior, you will learn more about word choices to express not only your feelings, but also your opinions and thoughts, facts, and so on. Also provided are guidelines for assertive behavior that will reinforce your assertive words.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted you to read my notes. I'm already did the best as I can with it.
Okay. Please zip your pants, jeans, glad. See, I think most people should probably be grateful if somebody points out something like that. I like that one.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, comments, questions, issues, concerns?
What's the best thing you learned today?
We all have
When you
feelings.
have old feelings come up over and over and over again,
We all have feelings, you say?
is it possible to understand
Why?
why and change, or do you think that because of past experiences that you'll keep on, keeping on, keeping on?
I am working, I'm not trying to blow you off your question. This isn't a cop-out.
I don't know if that's on the subject.
I have the
or not.
same problems that you're describing, and my therapist and I are working on it. And when we figure it out, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay.
Well, what's been your experience with that?
Well, I have a friend who has this problem. And constantly the old seems to outweigh the new. You know, it's like a bubbling up of anger.
Same problem.
And then he gets there and he doesn't know what to do with the anger.
What I'm learning, now we're supposed to share our personal experiences in group when it broke. What I'm being told over and over again is, don't deny your emotions. It's okay to feel anything. It's all about how you react to it. And my therapist is teaching me, and I'm working really hard on some breathing and meditative techniques for all emotions: fear, depression, anger, everything. And to ask myself why I'm feeling it, if there's a root emotion to it, and
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
worth doing anything about? That's why she's teaching me some meditations, breathing exercises, and some ways to deal with it. So,
And I went over that in my class yesterday
But I had the
over
same
at LEAP, and there was 10 little phrases, like affirmations, if you will. Like one of them was, "This too shall pass." And there was, I said 10 of them with little explanations. And I can make copies of that, and it sort of refers to what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
So,
One of the things she
I
taught
just
me
wondered,
for,
you know, people say the past doesn't bother you, but it does come up in your everyday emotions.
Absolutely.
yeah.
part of who we are.
And sometimes it's a matter of substituting, so you don't have the ruminations, which is like a bird pecking
Yeah.
on your head, where you
Yes.
keep thinking about same old thing over and over and over, but it's replacing it with more positive verbiage or words.
My therapist and I call it passive disregard. So you don't ignore the feelings and the thoughts and the emotions. You acknowledge them, but then you move on. And that's the part that I'm trying to learn, is how to move on. By
Right.
distraction, by meditation, by
Yeah,
thinking
breathing.
about other things, staying active,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's just what's working for me.
So that, anyway, that was the class I taught yesterday, but I can get you
Right.
that.
So what's,
Okay.
we don't have time. I hope everybody comes back. Next week, we are going to be covering, well, it's on your laminated cheat sheet.
Thanks for joining us. You can have
Win-win and I versus you statements. I versus you statements, I think, are really powerful, especially when we start role-playing and you hear the difference between me saying, I'm getting mad that you're always late for class. I'm getting mad that you do
Thank you,
this.
everyone.
Versus, I don't like it when people do this, do that. I don't like that.
Thank you, Brian.
So next week is gonna be really good, so I hope you guys come back.